Hello, Avani. Welcome to the fifth edition of TEDxStXaviersMumbai. It's such a pleasure to have you here today.
Hi, Durga. Nice to chat with you today. Thanks for having me.
So, before we go into the crux of today's discussion, that is social responsibility in trying times, I think it's important for us and the audience to understand what kind of place that you as a person are coming from. So, we did a little bit of research and found out that you completed your education abroad. So, how is that learning experience instrumental in shaping your view, your perception of things, and your outlook towards life in general?
I think studying abroad gives you a lot of perspective. Not only, I mean, of course, you learn a lot from the professors and the courses that you take, but it also gives you a lot of perspective on the world outside yours, and surprisingly, also your own world. It makes you realize, in the US, there's so much new technology, for example, and so much new stuff happening, and it makes you think, why can't we at such a fast pace implement those kind of solutions in a country like ours, where there's so much opportunity and so much potential. So I think about that, it also obviously personally gives you a lot of sense of independence and teaches you to kind of fend for yourself and live on your own. And I think that my education abroad really shaped me and convinced me that there was a lot more potential in India and a lot more that I should be doing in India to bring that potential here and to make the country realize it. So I think it really shaped me into the person that I am today.
And speaking of potential, I would say that you had that potential for social drive ever since you were in your school, and you actually started an NGO when you were a teenager. So how would you say that experience from being founder of that NGO to this entrepreneurial venture that you have today, how that has modified your personality, your work ethic? What is your take on that?
So you're right. I started a nonprofit when I was in school, and I think that a sense of social responsibility is something that's always driven me and it's always motivated me. Which is why even when I was in school, I thought it was very important to be socially aware and socially involved. I started out by working at a nonprofit, which then led me to start my own. And I tried to do something to economically empower women in India. Of course, I was very young. There are some decisions that I made that worked, and there are some that did not work. And I think that all of those are very, very important. To make someone realize what does work and what doesn't work, and kind of what you can do later in life also to continue to make that difference. So I think it taught me a lot. It helped me understand the perspective of so many women in our country, and not only women but their families and their loved ones. And again, I think that's really helped me understand our country and motivated me to continue to make a social difference through life.
And I think what you spoke, it's so relevant, but at the same time, I think it's also there's this place of acknowledgement that should be instrumental in such discourses, that we come from a certain advantage and beneficial backgrounds that enable us to stop thinking about ourselves for once and start thinking about others. So how do you think you made use of that platform that you had for this, all these ventures and amazing things that you're doing?
So my platform and my background is, always something that I've acknowledged. It's always something that I've owned up to, and it's always something that I wanted to use to make a positive difference in the world. I think that it's my duty, having come from a background of privilege and having been given a platform, to use it to do some good. And I don't think that anyone would really want to hear anything that I have to say. I don't think that things would have moved as fast had I not had this platform. So I think it's very important for people like us who come from such places to acknowledge that because of this, we also have a huge opportunity. And it's our social responsibility, it's our duty as Indians and citizens to use it to do as much good as we possibly can do. So I think that I'm very thankful for my platform, which has helped me reach millions of people and helped me, make a difference so far. And I hope to continue to use it to make an even bigger difference and perhaps build a greater platform over the one that I already have, to enable my children and those after that to also continue to make a difference, because it's our duty to do so.
So speaking of making a difference, would really love to know about your entrepreneurial venture, how the idea of starting something like that came to you, and what were some of the challenges that were involved in the conceptualizing of that idea.
So the idea of my venture actually came to me during the pandemic. I was, as you mentioned, studying in the US. I came home because I wanted to really do something in our own country. After I graduated, I thought I would stay on there. I thought I would do something there. And I came back for the summer before I was to move back there, and realized that, there's just so much to do in our country. There's no point trying to kind of do something in the US just to come back and do something. It's now or never. I mean, it's never too soon. So I came back. I was working virtually at a job when the pandemic hit. And, late last year, it became very obvious that cases were rising. Things were getting pretty bad. There weren't enough tests, RT-PCR tests, to go around. We had reached a saturation level, and prices of these tests were far too high for the average Indian to afford them. So I came up with a unique model to be able to help out in the situation, which received a lot of positive feedback. Now we're doing about 35 to 40,000 tests a day, if not more. And in the 5 months that we have launched, we've done about over 2 million tests already. And I think that making healthcare accessible and affordable to the average Indian is something that's very, very important, and it's something that I want to now continue working on.
And that's like really incredible knowing what something that started, as a very small idea to help out people in trying times is developed into something really big. And I think at the crux of it, this is a business model. And I want to talk about this, perception that people have that often business ventures and social welfare are mutually exclusive. They don't go together because businesses are supposed to be profit oriented. So, but your work, and it shows, the wonders that entrepreneur skills along with the drive for social change are capable of creating. So what would you say, what should businesses like yours, or anyone who's entering the entrepreneurial industry should have that kind of approach while developing their models or coming up with their business plans?
Like you said, I don't think that it's mutually exclusive. See, let's be realistic. I mean, everybody needs sustenance. Everyone needs to, do something with their lives, and fortunately or unfortunately, also needs to make money to survive. So I think this perception that doing social good and making money are mutually exclusive is not necessarily an accurate one. I think that the way to really be able to make social change and social difference while also keeping in mind, business plan is to really ensure scale. And I think that there's no country like ours to be able to do that. And that also has the need for something like that. I think that once you really scale up, you can reach as many Indians, as possible. And that scale ensures you to also drive down costs and ensures that your business model also makes sense. So it's a win-win if you can, bring the cost of essentials down by really scaling up. You reach a lot of people, and you also make enough money that you can sustain.
I really like this realistic approach towards life, and I think a lot of people who are either involved in social welfare or business, they think that they have different paths to go, and no one really thinks that we have the same destination to reach. So yeah, that's a really fresh perspective. I want to go back to the part where you spoke about the NGO that you started, and that was especially for the empowerment of women. And speaking of that, I want to move your journey from a gender perspective. So for as in the case with many spheres of life, the industry of entrepreneurs is heavily dominated by men. So there are a lot of interventions or a lot of things that stop women from even pursuing this field. So what kind of message that you would like to give such women or any girl like me who would want to start something like this?
I think the strongest message that I can give to women everywhere is, your voice is worth being heard, and make sure that it's heard. Because it's very easy in this male-dominated world for your voice to get lost. And I see a lot of women who don't necessarily continue to speak up because there are so many pressures, and because there are so many people who sound like they know what they're talking about, and don't necessarily want to hear what you have to say. But remember that what you have to say matters, and if you believe in something that you believe in, and if you have something that can add value, and you truly believe that, then the world will believe it too. But just don't back down as a woman. That would be my biggest advice.
That's a wonderful advice, I would say. So I would like to bring the conversation to your entrepreneurial ventures. So what lies ahead for that venture and for you? Do you want to move beyond the COVID-19 pandemic and go to other areas, avenues of public health and welfare?
Definitely. So I think that COVID was just a starting point. Because COVID happened, this idea came to me, the need to really get involved. I didn't feel right just not being actively involved in the COVID situation in my country when so much was going on. So it was a starting point. It helped me scale up as quickly as I did scale up. It definitely gave me an impetus. But now that I'm in it, I don't intend to kind of not be in it anymore. And hopefully we'll be done with COVID very soon. So I do want to ensure, affordable and accessible diagnostics across the spectrum to people in our country. I don't know why, people have to go to labs to really get tested. I think labs can come to people. I think that tests can be affordable. I think that they can reach a large number of people. They can be accessible even in the remotest areas. I don't know why new technology cannot come into our country. Usually what I've seen, and of course I have limited experience, there are industry experts that have been at it for years. But I see cost as being a major barrier to new technology, not quickly getting commercialized in our country. And not to say that it doesn't exist. There's incredible technology in our labs, in our research institutes, and I think that we really need to commercialize them quickly. And again, the way to do that is to scale it up so we can drive down that cost and get it to people. So I want to ensure large scale, scalable, and affordable diagnostics and premium healthcare to the average Indian. And that's my goal, and I hope to continue working and really, make my mark.
I'm sure you definitely will be able to achieve that. So speaking of public health and policies that you mentioned, so what do you think business ventures such as yours could do, working with public bodies to ensure that our policies that we implement, not just for healthcare but any policies in general, are inclusive and affordable to everyone? How do you think that coordination between private and public industry could make that difference?
I think it's very important for there to be liaising between the public sector and the private sector. I think that private and public sector, especially in healthcare and in all industries, honestly, need to work together as one India to really be able to drive change. Because without the private sector, the public sector can't scale as quickly, and vice versa as well, right? So I think there needs to be a lot of coordination and a lot of communication for interests and goals to be aligned, for both sectors to help each other to be able to achieve the goal of reaching as many citizens and making as much of an impact as possible.
So this would be like the concluding question of this whole discussion. It's been within such a short amount of time we've touched several topics, and I think at the end of the day it comes down to what you have learned as a person and what kind of growth that you've made. So what would you say were the biggest takeaways from this journey that you've come so far? And, keeping in mind that there are so many ambitions to come, how do you plan to utilize the things that you've learned, the mistakes that you made in your future? And yeah, basically, everyone has a philosophy to life and things that they do. So how would you describe that in like just 2 minutes that we have now?
That's a loaded question. I think that it's very important to make mistakes. And it's very important to learn from your mistakes. When I entered this industry, I didn't know anything about it. I don't have a healthcare background. I learned from industry experts. I had many conversations with, professionals from my college, from elsewhere, from experts in our own country. And I think that I really, really value all of those learnings and conversations. And I think that you should never stop learning, and you should never stop growing, and you should never stop being curious and asking questions. What they teach you in school and college, I think it stays with you for life. And I think that if you continue to be curious and listen and learn, then it's okay to make mistakes, because you'll come out of them, and some things will work and some won't. That's the reality of life. But you should never stop being curious and exploring new things.
I think that's a wonderful message. I think everyone stays a student till their last breaths, and I think, Avani, it's really wonderful to know that acknowledging that you come from a privileged background and using that, channelizing that privilege to something that's makes a difference, but at the same time allows you to explore yourself as a person. I think this is the kind of approach that our generation in general needs to take in order to make a difference, but at the same time stay realistic. So and also the idea of one India that you mentioned, that really strikes a chord with people who really want to be change makers, and not just in books but actual action, and thinking beyond the four walls of offices and colleges and whatever spaces that we work in. So thank you so much, Avani, for giving your valuable thoughts to us and sharing your experience. I know that you are running on a very busy schedule, knowing the condition that's going on out there. So thank you so much for being present today.
Thank you, Durga. Pleasure chatting with you. Thanks for having me.
I think this doesn't stop here. Obviously, we really wish you the best. Our team wishes you the best for your journey ahead. And yeah, we really hope to see you around and have you in our college sometime in future when we are physically able to meet again.
Happy to. Thank you, Durga.
Thank you so much.
Take care and stay safe.
You too.